Lexi Hull doing it all on that defensive possession. Clark. Oh! From another stratosphere!
There is a deafening silence surrounding the mainstream sports media this morning. The same analysts who spent the entire week defending Stephanie White, the beat reporters who pushed questionable injury narratives, and the WNBA voices that ignored growing frustration from fans are now staring at Friday night's box score in complete disbelief. Because the Indiana Fever's 90-82 victory over the previously undefeated Golden State Valkyries did more than secure a huge win, it completely shattered the narrative that had been built around this team over the last several days. When an organization tries to control public perception surrounding a generational superstar, the last thing they want is for that player to return to the court 48 hours later and dominate on national television. Welcome back to WNBA Pro, where today we break down one of the most explosive and controversial moments of the 2026 season. This is more than just a regular season victory. It is a direct collision between fan outrage, media narratives, and undeniable on-court reality. The anger that exploded after Wednesday night has not disappeared, and despite the Fever's massive win, the tension surrounding this franchise may actually be growing stronger. If anyone thought one victory would suddenly erase the chaos surrounding the locker room, the coaching staff, and the organization itself, Friday night proved the storm is only getting bigger. We are about to break down Caitlin Clark's incredible 22-point performance, highlight the dominance of Aaliyah Boston, and dive directly into the growing controversy surrounding Stephanie White's coaching decisions. Because after Friday night, the questions surrounding this organization became impossible to ignore. Just 48 hours earlier, fans were told that Clark was physically unable to play due to severe back stiffness. General Manager Amber Cox and head coach Stephanie White described the situation as serious enough to hold their franchise superstar out against one of the weakest teams in the league. The announcement came shortly before tip-off, leaving thousands of fans frustrated and confused after spending money expecting to see the face of the WNBA on the court. White publicly emphasized the need to be cautious, insisting the medical staff needed more time for Clark's back to recover. But then Friday night arrived. The national spotlight came on against the undefeated Golden State Valkyries, and suddenly the entire narrative changed. Caitlin Clark played 32 strong minutes, looked completely comfortable moving across the floor, finished with 22 points and 9 assists, shot 7 of 15 from the field, and attacked the game with the confidence and energy of a fully healthy superstar. Watching her control the offense, push the pace, and dominate critical moments immediately sparked major reactions across the fanbase, because the version of Clark seen Friday night looked nothing like a player supposedly dealing with a severe physical limitation just 2 days earlier. The performance did not simply silence criticism, it intensified the controversy surrounding how the injury situation was handled in the first place. Caitlin Clark did not simply return to the floor Friday night, she completely took over the game against one of the toughest defensive teams in the league. She logged 32 intense minutes, more than anyone else on the Indiana Fever roster, while controlling the pace of the offense from start to finish. Clark delivered 22 points and 9 assists, shot efficiently from the field, knocked down 4 three-pointers, and constantly forced the Golden State Valkyries' defense into uncomfortable positions. Every possession showed confidence, aggression, and complete command of the moment. She looked sharp attacking the lane, dangerous from deep range, and fully energized in transition basketball from the opening tip to the final minutes. That performance is exactly why fans immediately began questioning the narrative surrounding her sudden absence just 2 days earlier. On Wednesday, the public was told Clark's back stiffness was serious enough to keep her out entirely, but by Friday she was sprinting coast to coast, taking contact, creating shots under pressure, and playing heavy superstar minutes against an undefeated opponent. The contrast between those two situations instantly became one of the biggest talking points surrounding the Fever organization. Social media exploded as fans pointed to Clark drilling logo threes, fighting through physical defense, and competing with visible intensity throughout the night. The emotional reaction from the fanbase came from how dramatically different Friday's version of Clark looked compared to the image presented earlier in the week. For many viewers, this box score became more than just proof of a great performance. It became fuel for growing skepticism about how the injury situation had been communicated from the very beginning. The backlash surrounding the Indiana Fever only intensified after Friday night because many fans now believe the situation surrounding Caitlin Clark's absence was handled in a deeply questionable way. Some viewed it as load management disguised as a late injury decision, while others believed it reflected internal tension between the coaching staff and the franchise superstar. Regardless of the explanation, the optics became impossible to ignore once Clark returned looking completely healthy and immediately transformed the entire offense. From the opening possession, the Fever played with a different level of energy, spacing, and confidence. The biggest beneficiary was Aaliyah Boston, who delivered one of the most dominant performances of the entire WNBA season. Boston controlled the paint for 29 minutes, scoring 20 points on efficient shooting while pulling down an incredible 16 rebounds, including 4 offensive boards that completely shifted momentum in Indiana's favor. She finished with a massive plus 15 rating and looked unstoppable whenever Clark was orchestrating the offense. The chemistry between the two stars was impossible to miss. Clark's transition passing, pick-and-roll vision, and perfectly timed feeds allowed Boston to attack in rhythm all night long, and the result looked like the foundation of a championship-level partnership. When those two are fully connected offensively, the Fever suddenly look like one of the most dangerous teams in the league. Kelsey Mitchell also delivered under pressure, playing 31 composed minutes and scoring 19 points while going a perfect 11-for-11 from the free throw line. In a close, emotional game where every possession mattered, Mitchell's calm execution at the stripe became a huge reason Indiana maintained control late in the fourth quarter. But while the players were putting together one of the team's most complete performances of the season, frustration from fans continued to build toward the coaching decisions unfolding on the sideline. Social media erupted over questionable timeout management and offensive adjustments, with many viewers openly wondering why momentum repeatedly seemed disrupted during critical stretches of the game. Instead of the victory calming the controversy around the Fever organization, it only added more fuel to an already explosive situation. The controversy surrounding Stephanie White's coaching decisions reached another level during this game, especially when fans noticed how little newly signed forward Grace VanSlooten actually played. Just a day earlier, the Fever front office had made a move many fans and analysts were demanding by bringing in a versatile athletic forward with size, rebounding ability, and transition speed that seemed like a perfect fit alongside Caitlin Clark. On paper, it looked like exactly the type of roster addition Indiana needed against a physical undefeated team like the Golden State Valkyries. But when the game tipped off, VanSlooten barely saw the floor, logging only 1 minute and 44 seconds the entire night. That decision immediately sparked frustration across social media because viewers believed her energy, length, and rebounding could have helped relieve pressure on an already exhausted rotation. Instead, Stephanie White leaned heavily on small ball lineups and extended minutes for her guards in a physically demanding matchup. Fans interpreted the decision as stubbornness from a coaching staff unwilling to fully embrace roster changes being pushed by the front office and the public. Whether intentional or not, the optics fueled even more criticism surrounding White's management of the team. At the same time, Caitlin Clark continued to dominate the conversation throughout the broadcast. Commentators openly discussed her impact on winning and even floated the idea that she already looks like an MVP-caliber player whenever she is healthy and fully in control of the offense. Every possession seemed to reinforce that belief. Her pace, court vision, shooting range, and ability to elevate the players around her completely transformed Indiana's identity the moment she stepped back onto the floor. By the end of the night, the official statistics told a story that many Fever fans have been arguing for weeks. When Clark is allowed to run the offense freely and the team plays through her strengths, Indiana suddenly looks far more dangerous, organized, and capable of competing with elite teams across the league. Another major talking point from Friday night was the complete absence of Damiris Dantas from the rotation. Just 1 week ago, Stephanie White publicly discussed using Dantas as a major piece of the Fever's half-court offense, even suggesting the offense could run through her in certain situations. Those comments immediately sparked debate among fans because many believed the system should remain centered around Caitlin Clark's playmaking ability. But against the undefeated Golden State Valkyries, Dantas never stepped on the floor for a single second, receiving a DNP by coach's decision despite being healthy and available. That sudden shift only intensified criticism surrounding White's public messaging and rotational consistency. Fans questioned why a player previously described as such an important offensive piece completely disappeared in one of the team's biggest games of the season. The contrast between the earlier press conference comments and the actual game rotation became another source of frustration for a fan base already skeptical of the organization's direction. At the same time, despite the excitement surrounding Indiana's victory, there were still legitimate concerns within the performance that cannot be ignored. Caitlin Clark finished with 6 turnovers, marking the 5th straight game in which she recorded at least 4. Some of those mistakes came from aggressive high-level passing attempts, while others were the result of excellent defensive pressure from the Valkyries, but the trend is becoming significant enough that it deserves attention moving forward. The Fever also struggled at the free throw line as a team, leaving valuable points unclaimed in a game that remained competitive deep into the fourth quarter. While Kelsey Mitchell delivered a flawless performance at the stripe, Indiana overall shot below the level expected from a serious contender, and Lexi Hull's struggles at the line became particularly noticeable during critical moments. Even in a huge statement win, the box score revealed several areas that still need improvement if the Fever truly want to establish themselves among the WNBA's elite teams. Caitlin Clark narrowly missed out on another double-double, finishing the night with 22 points, 9 assists, 9 rebounds, and 2 steals in one of her strongest all-around performances of the season. Even without reaching the milestone, the numbers once again showed how much responsibility she carries every single night for the Indiana Fever. Clark continues to average around 20 points per game while also functioning as the engine behind the team's pace, ball movement, and offensive creativity. More importantly, Indiana secured a huge 90-82 victory over the Golden State Valkyries, handing the previously undefeated team its first loss of the season and improving to 4-2 overall. What makes the record even more impressive is how close the Fever are to being unbeaten themselves, with both overtime losses coming down to a single possession. On the surface, this looks like the type of win that could stabilize the season and quiet outside criticism. But underneath the celebration, the tension surrounding the organization still feels impossible to ignore. The reason this game sparked such intense discussion is because many fans believe Caitlin Clark is carrying the emotional weight of an organization still surrounded by controversy and internal pressure. Every strong performance from Clark seems to magnify questions about the coaching decisions, injury management, and communication coming from the front office. Social media continued exploding throughout the night with fans revisiting the timeline surrounding Wednesday's injury announcement and comparing it to Clark's explosive performance against Golden State. The combination of a dramatic win, heavy minutes from Clark, controversial rotation choices, and ongoing frustration toward the coaching staff created a situation where the victory itself almost became secondary to the larger conversation surrounding the Fever organization. While Indiana proved it can compete with elite teams when Clark is fully engaged, Friday night also reinforced just how much pressure, scrutiny, and expectation currently surrounds every move this franchise makes. The Indiana Fever may have secured one of their biggest wins of the season, but the conversation surrounding the organization is clearly far from over. Many fans now believe the team's success is being held together almost entirely by Caitlin Clark's ability to elevate everyone around her despite the non-stop pressure, scrutiny, and controversy surrounding the franchise. Every performance like Friday night's only increases the intensity of the debate, because when Clark is healthy and fully controlling the offense, Indiana suddenly looks capable of competing with anyone in the league. At the same time, the questions surrounding roster decisions, coaching rotations, and the handling of player availability continue to dominate discussions across the basketball world. The reaction from fans has been explosive, especially regarding Grace VanSluten's limited playing time and the timeline surrounding Clark's absence earlier in the week. This is WNBA Pro. Make sure to subscribe right now if you want more high-energy breakdowns, intense game analysis, and deep dives into the biggest storylines shaping the WNBA season. Drop your honest opinion in the comments below. Did Caitlin Clark's 32-minute performance raise more questions about Wednesday's injury situation, and do you think Stephanie White's rotations are becoming a serious problem for the Fever moving forward? Let the debate begin, because the pressure surrounding Indiana is only getting bigger from here.